So a vote gets cast that, well, it betrays an entire nation. But here's the thing, it's not a mistake. It's actually a predictable step in this dark, repeating pattern. It's like a blueprint for how great powers commit suicide. Look at this number, 214, 213. I mean, that is a razor-thin margin. And that's the margin by which Speaker Mike Johnson just killed a resolution to end an unlawful, undeclared war. With that one vote, he single-handedly neutered Congress's power to stop the bleeding.
That's right. He just killed it. With that single move, he slammed the doors shut on any kind of oversight, on any accountability, and really on the will of almost every single Democrat who tried to defund this catastrophe.
And what did he do right after? He ran. You know, eyewitnesses said Mike Johnson was literally running through the halls of Congress, like a man fleeing his own conscience. He didn't just walk away. He fled from having to answer for his decision. So what's the price of this war that he's so desperate to protect? Well, the White House has no clue. I mean, when Donald Trump's own budget director, Russ Vought, was asked point blank what this thing costs, is it $50 billion, $100 billion, $300 billion, he had no answer. Just nothing. His excuse? Oh, you're gonna love this. He said the figures are fluctuating day to day. Right. They have no idea where the money went, they can't give you a number, but guess what? They're demanding another $1.5 trillion for the defense budget. They want more of your money for a war they can't even put a price tag on. But here's the real cost, the one they don't want you thinking about. 13 American service members are dead. Hundreds more are dealing with life-altering brain injuries. And while all those trillions just vanish into thin air, our troops are literally starving on warships. You have sailors on the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Tripoli rationing tiny scoops of meat in a tortilla. The supply lines are so broken that their own families can't even mail them socks. This is the real cost, and it's paid in American blood and dignity. Okay, so what's so fascinating and frankly terrifying is that this chaos, this black hole of spending, this betrayal of our own people, it's not random. It's a structural trap. It's a predictable pattern that was laid out decades ago by the political scientist John Mearsheimer. Mearsheimer calls it offensive realism. Now, it's a pretty bleak theory, but it is powerful. It basically says that in a world with no 911 to call, great powers feel like they have to aggressively grab all the power they can just to make sure they survive. The tragic irony, though, is that this hunt for security is exactly what leads them into self-destructive, endless wars. So let me break down how this tragic machine actually works. Step 1, the world is anarchic, and that breeds fear. Step 2, to survive, you feel like you have to be the strongest one in the room. Step 3, that forces you to act offensively, to grab power before someone else does. And the result? Step 4, tragedy becomes inevitable. The perfectly rational desire for safety creates this death spiral of conflict, debt, and decay. And if you think this all just sounds like some academic theory, it's not. We have seen this exact tragic pattern play out before in the final, agonizing days of what used to be the world's greatest empire, the British Empire. At the turn of the 20th century, the British Empire just kind of stumbled into the Boer War in South Africa. They actually called it a splendid little war. Yeah, they thought it would be a quick, easy fight to secure some gold fields and, show off their imperial muscle. Instead, it turned into a brutal, costly nightmare that exposed all these fatal weaknesses and really marked the beginning of the end for their empire. Britain's treasury was absolutely bled dry. Their generals ended up resorting to concentration camps. Tens of thousands of civilians died. And sound familiar? Their troops suffered from collapsing supply lines and rock-bottom morale. The very war that was supposed to make the empire stronger hollowed it out from the inside. So let's take that historical lens and apply it to what's happening right now. When you do that, the parallels aren't just similar. They are chillingly identical. This pattern is happening live, right in front of us. First, let's look at political control. In Britain, you had these pro-war hawks in Parliament blocking any attempt to rein in the war. Today, you have Speaker Mike Johnson doing the exact same thing, killing that war powers vote and then literally running away from reporters. It is the identical playbook. Sideline the legislature, kill any oversight, and just let the executive branch wage endless war. Now, what about financial accountability? Britain's treasury was hemorrhaging cash on what was supposed to be a cheap little war. Today, OMB Director Russ Vought sits in front of Congress and just admits he has no idea what it costs. No number, just excuses while the administration demands another $1.5 trillion. Then and now, the country's treasury is treated like some infinite slush fund for a war with no price tag. And this slide right here, this shows the ultimate betrayal: military welfare. British troops in South Africa suffered from horrible supplies and disease. Today, American sailors on the USS Abraham Lincoln and USS Tripoli are rationing tortilla scraps. The war machine gets fed, while the greatest soldiers who operate it are left to starve. So if we follow this tragic pattern, the war is already past the easy part. That initial phase, it's over. What's coming next is a choice between three absolutely disastrous outcomes. There are no good options left on the table. These are the only paths left. Option 1, disastrous escalation, where we just double down and accelerate the decline. Option 2, a slow bleed, just a messy stalemate that drains the nation dry year after agonizing year. Or Option 3, a humiliating retreat that makes our rivals bolder and kicks off political chaos at home. See, every single path leads to the same place: a weaker, more divided America. You know, great powers don't fall in some spectacular single battle. They rot from the inside out. They're hollowed out by these unnecessary wars that promise glory but only ever deliver debt, division, and decay. The system that John Mearsheimer described, it doesn't care about good intentions. It punishes overreach with decline, every single time. The final phase of this whole pattern, it's not some sudden collapse. It's a series of undeniable truths that just can't be ignored anymore. The warning signs are screaming at us. The runners are sprinting. Leaders like Speaker Mike Johnson are literally fleeing from the consequences of their own actions, running from accountability right there in the halls of power. The costs are mounting. The bureaucrats, like OMB Director Russ Vought, they've lost control. They can't even count the trillions of dollars being shoveled into the furnace of this war. And the sailors are still hungry. The real human price is being paid by the people with the least amount of power, rationing scraps of food on billion-dollar warships. The British Empire learned its lesson from the Boer War, but it only learned it after it was already too late. The sun had already started to set on their empire. Today, the exact same pattern is repeating itself. The blueprint is being followed to the letter. So the only question left for us to ask is whether the Mearsheimer trap has already snapped shut.